Hey everybody! How are we doing? Good, I hope. Everybody getting settled in and ready for winter in the northern hemisphere? I am. Well, it's pretty much winter. We're almost to the winter solstice here, and you're thinking, been a while since I've made some videos, although right at the time of recording this I'm getting ready to upload a bunch that I made like a month ago. Just so busy this time of year that it's hard to stop and make videos. But as things slow down, we come into like slower medicine, I would say it now. All the stuff I make is pretty slow, and intentional, but winter, there's not a million plants awake. So you get to really like refine what is still out and about, and there are still medicines to be gathered year round. So definitely look forward to more videos, but today we're here to talk about how to make a poke root tincture. Now, these poke roots are pretty massive. Anybody who's ever dug poke root, if you've just dug a poke root and you come to like find a video, you're like, that is so big. This was like winning the poke root lottery. So here in Northeast Oregon, poke root is definitely not native to here. She's invasive. She's very problematic. She takes over. I'd say compared to hemlock, she is like just right behind hemlock with how invasive she is here. So don't worry about me breaking these roots off, but these poke trees, they definitely turn into trees. They get massive and then they die back every winter and come back. But so they're everywhere, and there's this place where years ago a local park dumped off like tons of like tree bark and like just like they would like wood chip all of the fallen tree limbs, and there's no chemicals there or anything, but anyhow, so poke has taken over that area, but that also means that the ground that she's growing in is basically really loose tree duff. And so these roots, like once we took the crown and disconnected from the roots, we literally just grabbed and pulled them out. Now anybody who's ever dug a poke root knows that it's hard in general to get one that's intact, but let alone like this big of a poke root. So poke root, you don't even need this amount. Like you would be fine with like this big of a piece of root or this big of a piece of root, and that's because poke root is extremely potent medicine to the point where even a full-grown man, big guy, only needs to take about 1 drop a day. And then you can take more than that, but you have to like take 1 drop a day for a week, and then take 2 drops a day for a week. That way your body is built up to the amount of poke. And now she's definitely not a safe, simple ally. You don't see me do a whole lot of videos for plants like this. This is something that I would never sell to somebody. But if somebody is planning to make a poke root tincture or looking, for more information or something like that, I figure this would be good to put out there, along with I have the meeting poke in the wild video from a few months back too. Now we wait until about December. I probably could have dug a little earlier, but been busy because we want a majority of the poke tree to die back. Most places it looks just like a little shrub and it dies back every year and grows back every year. It doesn't actually stay like a normal tree does. But you want that because now this root is as potent as it's going to get, meaning she has spent all summer storing up energy for the winter. Like this is her root cellar to live through the winter. So when we dig her that way, we get all of her medicinal properties like at their peak. Versus in the spring, she'll be completely depleted and use the last of her energy to emerge from the ground again, and then it's just like a hollow root. So you do not need to be making a half-gallon jar. You can just make yourself a half-pint jar because you're using so little. But basically what I'm going to do here is cut up this root the best I can. Couldn't find my meat cleaver, but I've got some real sharp scissors, and she's a pretty soft root, into this jar. Now you're going to see me put on gloves. I want you to wear gloves when you're working with poke. When you're digging, you don't got to worry about when you're touching, or you don't, but when you start cutting into this, or if you're trying to do something with the berries, I want you to wear gloves. But the root's definitely more potent than the berry, because she is so potent. She will absolutely soak through your skin, and then you'll be in a world of hurt. So what poke does naturally is she's a really, really powerful lymphatic mover. And the lymphatic is like, you have lymph nodes all over your body, but like most people recognize, and I'm going to start working again. Most people recognize lymph nodes, but you ever get sick and under your, like, swells right here, you feel those glands? Those are lymph nodes. And generally they swell up when they've got, you know, like toxins in them or a virus in them or that kind of stuff. And so she makes your lymph nodes process like full on. Like they're like going full drive. Like this is not like an option. Your body does not have a choice but to make these lymph nodes function at optimum speed. But also she's like a natural end of the world antibiotic. And by that I mean, like, if fucking society collapsed, if I had to pick one plant to act as an antibiotic that I always wanted with me, it would be poke root. Basically, if poke root won't help you with a virus that you're battling or something like that, you're needing to be in the hospital with intravenous antibiotics. So she's really, really powerful, and that's why you don't want to take a lot of her. Now, she can also be used for like lymphatic-based cancers and stuff like that, and there are people that use her for other types of cancers. So if, you know, that's something that you're dealing with, I would urge you to look into poke root, but like look into her deeply. And then, like, if you run into an herbalist that's going to help you, you know, get to know poke root, I want you to be very wary of anybody who says, oh, start taking 10 drops a day. Knock it off, walk away, don't deal with that person anymore. And I don't care how big you are, you start with 1 drop a day. And take it with food. She's just really, really, really potent. And basically what happens if you take too much poke root, you'll know that you've taken too much because you'll start getting kind of like dizzy and feeling woozy. And if you stop, that'll back off and you're not going to, you know, hurt yourself. As long as you back off on your dosage. However, if you keep taking her, she can throw you into a state of psychosis. Alright? Like, she can really start damaging your liver and your kidney. This is not safe, simple, gentle medicine. And again, I know that I don't do these videos very often, but it's important information to get out there, especially because lately I've seen more and more people advocating casually for the use of poke. So I just, you know, and you do not have to fill this jar all the way up. I'll probably come back and split these roots with a knife, the ones that my scissors can't cut through anyhow. But you do not need a full jar. You do not need a jar this big. I've used her for some pretty serious infections. I've used her for like bronchitis. I've used her for walking pneumonia. Saved my life once up on the mountain. And I'm a tiny person, so like I've never been able to take more than 1 drop at a time. If you are going to procure a poke root tincture instead of making your own, please, out of all the times I tell you to not take a tincture made from dried plant matter or anything using grain alcohol, which means 190 proof or stronger, this is the one time that I want you to listen to me. Because yes, that tincture will be stronger and more pharmaceutical-like. And that's what the people who like to use dried plant matter and grain alcohol are going after. But this is one plant where you do not want it to be more pharmaceutical-like. So when we are using fresh plant matter and just 100 proof vodka, that means we're not just getting poke root's most volatile compounds and alcohol-soluble compounds, but we're also getting her her water-soluble compounds, which makes her more balanced. But poke is just all around an amazing ally to have on hand, but she's also the last one that I reach for. And as a person who does not have health insurance, I can't just go to the doctor, you know, and around here for me to just go to a walk-in clinic, it's like $100 just to see the nurse. And then, you know, antibiotics or anything else they want to prescribe you. So if I can't use poke root, then I go to the doctor. You know, she's pretty powerful, but I'm definitely going to lean on my safe, simple, nourishment-based allies before I use poke root. But like, this is the first time that I've made a poke root tincture since I was about 10 years old. And I did that with my grandmother, and we just now, I got a pretty nasty cut on my finger, and needed to really make sure that some staph and stuff didn't take a hold, you know, infections basically, and so I was using the very last of my grandma's poke root tincture for that. And so now I will make this jar, and odds are good I won't need to make, I hope to God I don't need to make any more poke root for like the rest of my life, and odds are good my children can inherit this particular jar of medicine. So like you are literally watching something generational happen right now. This is like generational healing. But that's because, again, we are only using 1 drop at a time. And remember, tinctures never really go bad, especially if you have them in a jar with an airtight lid. They can, like, if you have them in like your dropper bottle, they don't really go bad so much as like they will slowly evaporate over the years. Even if you have it screwed on really tight, they just evaporate out through the little rubber dropper. But even then, you got yourself like a solid, like probably 10 or 15 years before that fully happens. But you could also just buy those little black caps that don't have droppers on them for your tincture bottle, and it'll never evaporate off. Basically, it's just that rubber's kind of permeable, like for air. Anyhow, so yeah, I won't ever need to make this again. You know, but there is stuff that you can do externally with poke root. A lot of people like to make some pretty serious poultices for dealing with breast cancer, but I don't really like that because I feel like it damages more tissue, and like it can like eat a hole in your skin. So poke root is pretty serious medicine, and if you've heard me say that a bunch of now, but I really need it to sink in. So, yep. But again, you do not need to make this big of a jar or even a quart jar. But also, I won't keep all this to myself. I will also be giving this to like family members that I know that I can trust that they won't like hurt themselves with it. But if you are an herbalist who is watching this video for the sake of making a poke root because you want to maybe sell it, I really urge you not to. I know I told people that like if they're going to buy it, you know, I know it is available out there, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't make medicines available to people when they want them, or just in general. But if there was ever a tincture that you were going to sell that somebody was going to injure themselves with, it is poke root. And so you know, we can have insurance, and to cover our own ass, but like you also need to think of the person that like will hurt themselves, you know. And like if you are giving this to somebody that you don't know, if you have like schizophrenia, not so much bipolar, but like anything schizophrenic, like poke root is even worse for triggering that. Like I live with severe CPTSD, which is just complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and the way that surfaces for me is like really bad night terrors, amongst other things. But even just taking 1 drop of poke root, I can tell at night my dreams are violent. You know, and they're very, they may not be violent like you're thinking like blood and gore, but they're very chaotic. You know, and so I acknowledge that just from 1 drop. 1 drop. So if you give this to somebody who might have mental health issues and you're not there to like guide them with it, and they start taking, oh well, I'll start taking 1 drop, I'll take 2, oh whatever, I can take 5 drops, and it could like throw them into a really bad episode. So be responsible with what you're offering to people. Honestly, that's one of the reasons that like I don't offer anything to anybody that they can truly hurt themselves with. You know, most tinctures, when you're, you know, like lemon balm or catnip or anything else you've watched me make, I mean, you shouldn't drink the whole bottle. I mean, the whole, you know, tincture bottle. But if you did, at worst, you just took a shot that's going to make you go to sleep. You know, but this, if you took a shot of poke root, you could really end up in the hospital, like, and maybe not come back from it. So I know that all sounds really scary, but she's also somebody that, like, if you're being mindful and doing your research and respecting the power of this plant, I think she's a really important ally to have on hand. Like, again, if it was like, you know, society collapsed, end of world communication type era, I would probably have a jar of poke root in my like to-go bag, or like wherever I was running to. Like I would probably tincture up bottle up quite a bit of poke root. Actually, I think I have a tincture in my like to-go bag, you know, like in case there's like a fire or earthquake or something like that. I I have a lot of tinctures, and I think I have a poke root. If not, I should have one in there. But so yeah, and then definitely if you're making this and you have curious children, keep or put away. My kids are old enough that they, you know, they got a cough, I can be like, go get some mullein tincture and, you know, take care of yourself, and they'll go and get it. But because of that, I also, I lock up my poke root tincture. Not because they're curious and young and going to get into it, but I don't ever want them to accidentally grab the wrong bottle. I do that for anything that I'm making that's pretty potent like this. And I do make quite a few medicines like this that I don't talk on a lot or ever offer to people, because it's just like for my own family personal use. So now that I'm done rambling about that, and I think I've actually got quite enough in there to make a pretty potent tincture. So now I'm just going to take some plain old 100 proof vodka. It does not need to be fancy vodka. You can get organic vodka if you want to. The fancier the vodka only stands for the more they filtered it, so it's easier for you to drink. But we're not like drinking a tincture really, we're taking it drops at a time, so it doesn't, you don't really need to worry about how smooth the vodka tastes going down. So we're just gonna pour this right over top. And again, this is like, geez, like 200 years worth of poke root tincture. You think I'm elaborating. Woo, I almost filled it up too much there. But like genuinely, like you're literally taking this, again, one drop at a time. So how long do you figure that'll last? I honestly wouldn't have even dug a root that big, but they just came out. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to listen to you, plant, and I guess that I need to make that much poke root tincture. And like, don't even worry, for one, the plant's invasive, and like, even if you live like down south where she's like more native and grows there naturally, you will not kill this plant. Like, honestly, with even that much root left behind, it will produce another plant. They're really hard to kill, and generally if you plant one in your yard because you want a poke tree for this type of medicine just to be on hand, the best way to keep her from spreading is every year when you see her berries start to come on, cut them off. Because they will spread through their berries very readily. And birds can eat them and stuff too, so they spread it that way. But if you do that, you won't have it spreading all over. And then she's kind of like comfrey. Once you dig up that root, it will spread little bits of root and then create new plants. So once you have poke, you really have poke. So now all I did was cut up my poke root, my fresh poke root, put it in a jar, poured 100 proof vodka over top. 6 to 8 weeks, I have a poke root tincture. So now I'm just going to make a little label. You guys usually see me make complicated labels, but because this isn't going to anybody else besides my family, I'm just using these blank labels. And honestly, I can't find my other labels. I didn't feel like digging for them. I'm just going to write on here, poke root, where I got it at. You always want to write where you got it at in case you felt like that one was stronger, weaker, helped with one way but not the other. Plants, in the same, like this poke root is the same as another poke root. It's growing somewhere different, but the climate area can make it like have different properties within it. So I just pay attention to where I got it from. And then I'm going to write 100 proof vodka. It's always 100 proof vodka. And then I'm going to write on there the date. What's the date today? Okay, it's something December. So I'll just write December 2018. And then I'm just going to stick that on my jar. Now, I like to use labels, and you can make fancier ones. You can use duct tape, scotch tape, whatever you want. What I don't want you to do is to write on the lid. Because it gets wiped off. You get a little bit of alcohol in there. It gets eroded away. I guess you could write this and then put it on there. You could print it out. You could get waterproof labels. You can go as fancy or as cheap as you want to. I just want you to label it. But now I'm just going to sit it in a cool, dark place for 6 to 8 weeks, and then I'm going to strain it. And if I'm very ill and I don't feel like any of my other herbs are helping me battle an infection I might have going on, I will take 1 drop of poke root a day. So, you know, that's basically it. Now, if you forget if you forget that you made this, you know, if you've got all the jars and everything like I do, and that's where the label comes in handy, you'll know what it is, but also don't worry because it's not going to go bad. You can leave this in here for 6 to 8 weeks. You can leave this in here for 6 to 8 years. It's not going to affect it. Honestly, I saw somebody forever ago be like, why aren't you tincturing for an entire year before you press? And I'm like, they're like, you're not getting all the medicinal properties. I'm like, first of all, after about, I don't know, 8 weeks, maybe 12, you could say push it to 12, there's nothing else being extracted from that plant matter. You're done for. You could strain it out and put fresh plant matter back in there and it would continue to do it. And you could make a double, triple, you know, tincture. Probably please don't do that with poker. She's powerful enough as she is. But there's really no point. So like you could say, well, I'm going to let it sit for a year and it'll be super extra strong. You don't got to wait that long. It's ready in 6 to 8 weeks. And it's really not going to be any stronger at like the 8 to 12 week mark than it is at the 1 year mark. So there's just no need. But again, it won't hurt you to do that either. You don't have to strain it. Like for me, when I start using this, if I use a singular drop or two this winter, I probably won't even strain it. I'll just reach in with a dropper. I always have little spare droppers laying around and I'll just bloop. You know, I don't even need to strain it because I don't need to bottle it really. This is the bottle that it'll remain in unless sometimes I'll put like 10 or 15 drops into a 30 ml bottle and then I'll fill that with water and then I'll take 2 to 3 drops of that. But that's just getting complicated and that's just because I'm lazy. Meaning if I don't want to always come back and take, you know, 1 drop out of that time if I'm traveling or something like that and I want to have poke root on me, you can do that. But do keep in mind that that water won't really stay fresh in that tincture bottle. Water does go bad. People don't realize that. But I would probably discard that after about a week. You can reclaim the bottle, wash the bottle out, it's not that big a deal. But dump the contents out after about a week. So that's poke root tincture. That's poke root tincture 101. And so if you like my videos, like, you know, hear me ramble, take a moment to turn on notifications. That way you can hear me ramble when I do ramble, and subscribe to my channel because I don't like post on a schedule. These videos are very impromptu, and if you turn on notifications and subscribe, you're more than likely going to get a notification of new videos. And then like and comment. Not only does it let me know that I'm not like just talking into the void, it helps other people find me. It helps the algorithm think that I'm good enough to be shown to people because people are interacting, and I like to see what you have to say. I do my best to respond to most comments that are like within topic. So like if you have a question about poke root tincture, assuming I get the notification on my phone, I'll generally reply to it. If you ask me something about a random plant, I'm a pretty busy, tired mom, I might not answer it because it had nothing to do with the particular video, but sometimes I do. But also come find me on Instagram, come check out my website, all the other things that I offer. I try really hard to get safe, simple, most of the time, information out there and to do so for free. So thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye.